Hello everyone and welcome back today. So today's video is going to be a collection video. So today I've managed to finish off a massive part of my collection, and for me it's the culmination of nearly 20 years worth of work. It's for me like the ending to 2020 I've been after. So I'm just going to dive right in and I hope you enjoy this video. So growing up and especially finding out that horror is a genre I truly love, I found myself drawn to all the different monsters. I love monster movies, and obviously once you kind of hear about that, you know George Romero and the zombie films and the kind of impact they have on not just the zombie films but just films in general. So I'm going to show you one of the first box sets I think I got, which is this one. So Anchor Bay over in the UK released this one. So I watched these films, particularly night and day, on BBC Two late at night. I would video them and watch them the next day, and even show my young brother, and we were all just, especially in day, I remember us watching it just before we had like our tea, and it just gagging at like all the effects and just like, oh my, what are they doing? So I pleaded with my mum to get me this set, and it's a very peculiar set because I remembered how Night starts, which is the car in the graveyard. On the Anchor Bay edition, it doesn't start that way. It starts completely different. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why. And it being around 2004, I was like, well, what's going on here? So I made sure I like just double checked and read everything. Turns out the co-writer of Night of the Living Dead, John Russo, had made a 30th anniversary cut where he went back, shot more footage, and it's not good. Like, I don't think I've ever been so disappointed picking up a box set as much as that one. For just because I was like, oh wow, what I rewatched Night of the Living Dead, and it recontextualizes, especially in the first opening of the film, where you have the zombie walking through the graveyard, the "It's coming to get you, Barbara" scene. That character has a backstory, and you're just like, what? Oh, really? Are we doing this? Just and that's where I started going, right, okay, I need to start collecting this kind of franchise. I know that Dawn is I think that was the director's cut, and then Day of the Dead. But then I ended up getting a few years later. This will be a bit of a time jump, I do apologise. But yeah, I managed to get the Arrow George Romero set. So they announced they were basically doing a lot of the George Romero stuff, and double checked, triple checked. This was the original Night of the Living Dead, so brilliant. I was like, cool. And I do love this set because of obviously all the artwork, and just incredible. Like this is all part of the kind of now gone Arrowdrome series. So that's kind of covering like the big box sets I have. Then we get into, obviously I've now got Night on Blue, which came with Birth of the Living Dead, which when I was upgrading Night at the time, I didn't know Criterion were going to be doing a box set, but I was like, to have George Romero and everybody coming in doing another documentary and just talking about it, it was a no-brainer for the price I paid. So it was just great to see Night in high def, looking proper, looking nice, and it is being the original cut as well. I have seen Night of the Living Dead in colour, because there is a company over here for some reason grabs all of the copyright free films and they turn them into colour. It's pointless, it's terrible. I wouldn't really watch it. The next one is the one that finishes today's collection, is Night of the Living Dead. If you're going to collect the Romero films, you need them in the best format. You need them looking the best that they can be. Just had to. So, with Night of the Living Dead, George Romero wrote that with John Russo, the co-writer, and helped out on the film as well, and did the 30th anniversary cut. And they made an arrangement where they could go off and do their own versions of this series. So Night would always be the origin, and then they could split off. So Russo ended up doing the Return of the Living Dead series. So I've seen 3 out of the currently 5 films. Love part 1, really enjoy part 2. 3 I wasn't too keen on, and I kind of stopped there after especially doing research on 4 and 5, which just did not appeal to me. So I was kind of like, cool, I'll stick with those. But that's where you kind of realise the series has, it's more than the 6 films that Romero did. So the next film is obviously Dawn of the Dead, which I have a few times. I think it's mainly the director's cut or the extended Khan cut that gets chucked in with those ones. So when I was in college a while back now, I had somebody who basically just taught me about being region free and hacking DVD players and things like that, and really educated me in kind of how the BBFC works and what goes on in the UK. But he was selling a load of old DVDs, was like, okay, cool, this is what I've got. And I managed to pick up, which blew my mind at the time, the Anchor Bay Dawn of the Dead set. So this is the original set with the 3 cuts, which I didn't even know about. So you get all 3 cuts, you get the Document of the Dead, and you get all the bonus features, which is just incredible. And when I watched each cut, I was just kind of blown away by, I think the theatrical and the extended cut, you don't quite see much of the difference, because I think it's only about 10 minutes or so that's added or different, but you can feel it in the pacing. Whereas the Argento cut, I noticed it completely, where gore was being extended, there was just more violence, and the story was more compact. It was like, whoa, okay. So I got the Dawn of the Dead Blu-ray set from Second Sight, which is just a thing to behold. I'd seen it advertised from people, and I was just like, I can't go another, I don't know, because I was really after the Arrow set, but I know they only had one of the films, I think it was the theatrical cut, on Blu-ray, and the rest of the set was on DVD. I was close to a couple of times on getting it, and it was just, the price was just too much for essentially one Blu-ray and a couple of DVDs. People were wanting, 50, 60, 70 quid used, if not more, and I'm not paying that. And luckily I waited, and now I have that set, and it is something special, just truly special. So really love that box set, and Second Sight did a wonderful job. But through Dawn of the Dead, and basically George Romero needing funding and kind of a place to kind of write the film, he went to Italy to Dario Argento, a mate of his, and he wrote the script there. Dario helped get the finance for the film, which led to Dario ultimately taking the film with George's permission and recutting the film for a European audience, which is why we have the Argento cut. It's more action packed, it's more energetic, it's shorter, it's the shortest version. And through that, it got a title rechange, which led it to Zombie. The Italians, realizing they have a franchise on their hands, they ended up doing unofficial sequels. So this is the third timeline to the Romero series. And if it gets confusing, I apologize. I think it's up there with Halloween as one of the most confusing series as ever. But what they did do was the first one, which is Zombie, aka Zombie Flesh Eaters, by Lucio Fulci, and I love this film. It's an incredible film. It's just truly breathtaking. Then we get to Zombie 3, which I've got to be honest with you, that's the best film. This is my favourite film. It is absolutely just crazy. Just absolutely love it. Then you get into Zombie 4, which no words can describe this film. I mean, it's directed by the people who made Troll 2. So if you love Troll 2, you haven't seen this, watch it. Trust me, it's, oh my god, it's brilliant. Then recently, I've also managed to finish off the zombie series. I finished this off a couple of weeks back with Killing Birds, which is Zombie 5. That was a strange one, because you've got Robert Vaughn from like The Magnificent Seven. He's in it, and you're just like, really? You're doing this? The film opens up like this weird mix between Rambo First Blood and Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. And I've got to be honest with you, I think it's better than Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, even though The Birds don't really feature that heavily in the film. I loved it. It was just pure crazy Italian greatness. It's, if you want an experience, they're definitely your series to go with. So, Reeling from Dawn, George Romero tries once more to go off and make other projects. He's really hungry to make films and try and experiment, which after Night was a bit harder because everyone was like, oh, are you going to do another one? Are you going to do another one? Very much what like happened with Sam Raimi and Evil Dead. As soon as Sam's kind of other projects didn't work, he had to go back to kind of Evil Dead. And so George kind of always said there'd be a third part, and hearing what his original plan was going to be for Day of the Dead, which was going to be, I think, in closer budget to land, so it was about 8 million or so, and it sounds incredible. Like, I really would have loved to have seen that film, but the backers fell out and he had to make the film on a more compromised budget, which obviously leads to Day of the Dead. And it's my personal favourite of the franchise. I love the real gallows humour in it. I love the fact that he is not subtly tackling like a lot of issues. He's just hitting you with a brick, and I think that's kind of, you can tell he's in an angry place, and the film's very angry, and I love that. It's my favourite because obviously all the makeup effects from Tom Savini. Obviously this is where he starts working with Greg Nicotero. There is so much to love in that film, and I love John Harrison's score, which has become iconic. Even the band Gorillaz have used the theme for it, for one of their songs. I just love it so much. So fast forward a few more years, I'm in high school at this point. So in the chronology, so 2004, 2005, I'm in high school. I hear there's another Dead film. What? Oh my god, I need this. And yeah, cut to Land of the Dead. So I've got the old Universal DVD, the director's cut, which was how it was released over here. It's got a load of puff pieces on it, and I think it's I really enjoy Land of the Dead, but the ending is what gets me. And then finding out George was fighting daily battles with the studio, and they wanted the zombies to have a happy ending. You just think, why, really? He had to reshoot an ending where the zombies have their own... Oh, fucking hell. Ugh. But it's... I do love that film, regardless. I love all the Easter eggs of, like, Tom Savini coming back. But I managed to pick up the Scream Factory release, which I am in love with. I really do. This is my always go-to version of it. So I love all like the new interviews and all the kind of new bonus content they've thrown into that, and they've done a new 4K scan which just looks gorgeous, really does. So then George, after that one, everyone was like, oh, we're obviously going to get part 5 or something, and he was kind of like, just came out with Diary of the Dead. And I like this one. It's a bit flawed, and it was because of the framing device of it being a documentary. I'm not quite a fan of how it was pulled off in places, but I do love the fact that it's people recording the initial outbreak of a zombie virus. I do love that, and I still think it's really good. And I went to HMV on the day of release. I think I'd heard there was going to be a steelbook around. I'm not one for steelbooks, but George, I'm there, and I even got it numbered as well. This is still the original release, and it's I'm so proud of that one. So after Diary of the Dead, we obviously got Survival of the Dead. And I don't know if anyone knows like kind of what happened over here, but I think it must have been that the fact that Diary didn't do so well for Optimum. They put a lot of time and energy in throwing all the extras and all the bonus content that was produced into it. They really splurged on discs and making it. So when Survival came out, I remember it was very hard to find. I couldn't find it. And I went into my local Tesco and they had it. That is what we got. Just, no words, badly photoshopped title, okay-ish artwork, no extras. No extras whatsoever. Fucking livid. And the film's actually really good. I enjoyed it. Bit of a sore subject with kind of Romero fans because a lot of people didn't like where it went. I don't mind where it went because you get to part 6 in anything, you've got to be touching new ground. And I think what he did was very interesting. He used a lot of what he had started in previous films and thought, well, what's the next logical step? Worked for me. I think it's still a very great addition to the series, and it's unfortunately it's not, I don't think it's the kind of capper to a career that he may have wanted or anything like that, because of working with Universal, he was very much like, I'm going to independent, I'm working independently now. I would love to have seen another one, I really would. So obviously, just being the bare bones DVD, I needed it on Blu-ray along with Diary, so I managed to get this, which is an out of print set. Unfortunately, it comes with Day of the Dead remake, but like at least I've got them in high definition. That's what matters. But the true find for me recently was I have been keeping my eye on it for about the last couple of years, and unfortunately I just missed out on the Blu-ray of this, but there was one DVD, I was not letting it slip, and that is Survival of the Dead. So this is the American version, and this comes with 2 discs, audio commentary, introduction by George, and you get behind the scenes look. There is an 80-minute documentary about the making of this film. Like, I bought this solely for the extras, so this is my collector mentality coming out, but this is like the holy grail for me. Like, Survival seems to be the one out of every single one of the films that just got completely just dumped, especially in the UK. So to have this and now see how George made it, his thoughts and feelings on the film, what he was trying to do, finally I feel like I can get closure on knowing what happened, where it went, what he was trying to do, and just understand the film that little bit better. So that is my Romero zombie adjacent franchise collection. I mean, I normally don't do that for every single film, or if it's usually if I've got it on DVD, I'd like to upgrade it to Blu-ray, I'll usually get rid of the DVD. George Romero, when I watched these films as a wee boy, it taught me the value of social commentary. It taught me the value of, you know, you can say something with your art, but that doesn't mean you have to compromise the vision of the film per se. In what you're trying to say, you may have to compromise to budget and money, unfortunately, but you can still get across what you're trying to say, that you never have to diminish the genre values. And that's where I really got a massive problem with today's horror, where they're very much dramas, but they're horror because they either feature ghosts or whatever. No, that's crap. I find a lot of filmmakers are very snobbish to, I want to make a horror film, but I want to make it the classy version of a horror film. No, you don't have to. Stanley Kubrick made The fucking Shining. That is a horror film through and through. It adheres to the conventions of the genre. It gives you the thrills, chills, scares, but it does something which it offers you character. Like The Exorcist, it really horrifies you, that film, but yet it's also, the reason I think it's still one of the greatest is because it gives you that character. Whereas a lot of horror films either go, they give you too much character or too much story, where you kind of, at least for me, I kind of tune out. Like a lot of the A24 ones, like The Witch, like that for me didn't ever feel like a horror film, because it never creeped me out, it never horrified me, as in like say like The Omen or The Exorcist, where it had that little nugget of an idea that just drills into the back of your mind and you're like, fuck me, I need to, oh, this is creepy. And I think we need to get back to the fact is, if you're making a horror film, say a ghost film, you need to adhere to what ghost stories do, but you can still play within that world. And I'm hoping it'll change, but George Romero was a pioneer, and I fucking respect that man, because he really made films that are ballsy. They really had something to say, but he never just half-assed them. He went full out on the gore, the violence, and really gave you not only a piece of entertainment, you also walked away learning something. And that's something that I think every filmmaker aspires to do. So this is me signing off. I hope you have a great day, great rest of your week. or great week, and I will speak to you soon.